This episode is going to help you understand how you make yourself feel worse without even realizing it and how you can stop. Welcome to Calmly Coping, where I provide overthinkers with actionable tips to cope with anxiety and stress calmly and mindfully. I'm your host, Tati Garcia. I'm a licensed therapist specializing in anxiety treatment. I love running, and I'm addicted to self-improvement books. Join me as I help you understand how to cultivate calm from within while uncovering your unique strengths so that you can live a more fulfilling life. This is episode number 5, how you make yourself feel worse without even realizing it. So the mystery thing that makes you feel worse is complaining. And I can guarantee you probably do this all the time without even realizing it. So you probably don't like to be around people who are complaining. It can be draining and really a drag when people focus on and point out the negative in things. But at the same time, sometimes it feels good to complain. It can feel good to align with others when you have similar annoyances. And actually, shared dislikes can bring people together. Quote, in a study done at the University of South Florida, researcher Jonathan Weaver found that having similar negative views bonded people, unquote. It's hard to ignore the immediate negative consequences of complaining, whether to yourself or to others. You just feel bad. You focus on the negative and what sucks, and your perspective is affected. So today we're going to talk all about complaining, how it affects your mood, and what you can do differently to have a more optimistic mindset. Thank you so much for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by my free anxiety journal prompts. Inside Journaling to Calm, you'll find targeted journal prompts to help you identify where you're currently feeling stuck and what you can do to feel more calm, clarity in your life. You can download that at calmlycoping.com/journal. Listen, I'm not going to tell you to never complain. It's very important to express your thoughts and emotions, both enjoyable and not so enjoyable. It's perfectly valid to dislike something or to feel negatively about something. What I'm referring to is when complaining puts you in a bad mood, makes you feel anxious, hopeless, and then maybe it makes it hard to control your impulses and how you treat the people around you. So today you're going to learn why you need to stop complaining and how to stop complaining. So here are the key takeaways you're going to have from this episode. Why you complain and how it impacts your mood, what the second dart is and how this adds to your suffering, the number one question to ask yourself when you get stuck complaining, along with an action plan with concrete steps to help you stop complaining. I took a mindfulness-based stress reduction course about 2 years ago. This was a weekly course on a college campus designed to teach mindfulness techniques to decrease stress. I remember I was driving to the class one day and it was raining outside. I had my wipers on and I was driving down the main road to get to campus. I looked out the passenger side window to see my favorite part of the drive there, the horses just hanging out in the grass. I remember seeing the horses out in the grass like any other day and thought, they don't even seem fazed by the rain. They probably aren't judging it or having thoughts of dislike, they're just in the present. And I brought up this concept in class. How often do you have judgmental, complaining thoughts about the rain or the weather? How often do you complain about the weather to others? People love complaining about the weather. Maybe you feel trapped inside, or it's cold and cloudy out and you can't see the sun. But the weather is just that, the weather. It's not good or bad, and you can't control it. Even rain serves a benefit. Without rain, we wouldn't have the water necessary to grow plants, to have trees that allow us to breathe oxygen. The reason that you complain is because you make judgments about things, whether you like or dislike them, and it's just part of being human. But complaining negatively impacts your mood when you have no control over these things that you're making judgments about. Because ultimately, you're just making a judgment about something that you can't change. And so you're going to feel helpless automatically. So let's talk about the second dart, because that brings us into this concept. So this is a mindfulness concept. The first dart is reality, or what's happening currently. So for example, let's say you wake up with a headache. The pain of the headache is the first dart. It's annoying, possibly distracting, and just unpleasant. The second dart consists of the thoughts that you have about the pain. So maybe you're thinking, this sucks. When is this headache going to be over? This is going to make it so much harder to do work, etc., etc. This second dart is what puts you in a bad mood and creates more suffering, all courtesy of you and your complaining thoughts. Because the reality is, the headache is there whether you are complaining about it or not, and it's already an unpleasant experience. So when you have those negative thoughts on top of it, judging the headache, that's actually making you feel worse. And so you're just adding needless suffering and making yourself feel worse without even realizing it, because these judgments are so automatic and so quick that you probably don't even notice how often you're doing it. So how do you work on this so that you're not complaining so much or putting yourself in such a bad mood? So the number one question to ask yourself when you get stuck complaining is this, and you may recognize this question from episode number 2, but I love it because it's applicable in so many situations. And the question is this helpful? Is your complaining helping you in any way? Or is it just creating more suffering for you? The pain of the headache will still be there, unless you take something for it. The rain will still be there. You will still have to go to work. You still have to clean the toilet. At least I hope you are. The one thing you can control is how you choose to think about things. Do you choose to accept reality, or do you choose to complain about it? The choice is yours and yours alone. So this brings me to another quick tip. Let's say if it is something that you're complaining about, you don't want to go to work, you're asking yourself, is this helpful to complain? Maybe the answer is no. So I want to introduce a simple language shift that can really help you to approach those things that you have to do and you don't want to do in a different way. So just by changing I have to go to work or I have to go to school to I choose to go to work, I choose to go to school. Even if you feel like you're not making an active choice, you're always making a choice. You can choose not to go. You can choose to not do your work, to not do your school. Obviously, there's going to be consequences, but at the end of the day, you are making a choice. So the next time that you have something that comes up that you don't want to do, that you don't feel motivated for, that you're making a judgment about, I want you to change that language from I have to do this to I choose to do this. So those are my top takeaways on why you need to stop complaining. And the great news is that you can choose to make these changes starting right now. It's perfectly normal to have old, unhelpful thoughts come up. And every time you choose to think differently, you're making progress. So to wrap up, today I talked about how complaining negatively impacts your mood, especially when you have no control over things. I talked about the second dart, which are your negative thoughts about something, like pain or like the weather, and how this adds to your suffering. And I talked about the number one question to ask yourself when you get stuck complaining. Is this helpful? And the last quick tip I added is to change those things that you have to do. Change that language from I have to do this to I choose to do this. I choose to go to work. I choose to clean my house so that I can have a place that I feel comfortable in. So your action tip is one of two things, whichever you prefer. So you can either write down the question, is this helpful, in a place that you'll see it, the notes section of your phone, on your refrigerator or bulletin board, on a Post-it note, on your nightstand, or on your laptop. Catch yourself next time you are mentally or verbally complaining and ask yourself, is this helpful? So the second action tip that you can use if you don't want to do the first one is to write down, I choose. So instead of is this helpful, you're going to write down, I choose, use it in the same way. And the next time you catch yourself thinking, I have to do this. I have to do all these responsibilities. I have to pay these bills, et cetera, et cetera. Change that language and remind yourself to flip it to I choose to. And if it helps, you can come up with some reasons. Like I choose to pay the bills because I value having electricity, having hot water, having a place to live. And see how that changes your mindset and changes your mood. I'd love to know how these tips help you.
You can leave me a review on iTunes and let me know.
And if you're finding this episode helpful, then definitely take a screenshot of you listening to it and share it in your stories. Tag me at Tatiana G LPC. Until next time, be calm. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please share this episode with a friend. And please subscribe and leave me a review on iTunes. Also, remember to check me out online at calmlycoping.com and connect with me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC. All content here is for informational purposes only. This content does not replace the professional judgment of your own mental health provider. Please consult a licensed mental health professional for all individual questions and issues. Till next time, I'm Tati, and this has been Calmly Coping.